Let's get ready to read some books. This is the Large Blast Podcast. I'm your host, Stoney, joined as always by Welshie.
Turn the page, walk away.
And Matt.
Hi, I'm Mega Matt, your AI pal.
Sorry, Welshie. Matt couldn't be here, but it's all right because I've actually made an AI program that could basically stand in for Matt.
Yeah.
So we like to get things kicked off with a little something we call hobbies goings on. So, Welshie, what have you got been going on in your hobbies life?
Skulls. Iron skulls. It's consumed my life since we interviewed James Otero. And he said, come along to our painting competition. I've done nothing but paint for Iron Skull. And we're recording this 2 days before the competition. So it's all hands on deck.
Certainly is. So what have you got lined up? I know Matt, he's been painting a lot as well.
Well, I've always preferred
painting Warhammer for fun and relaxation.
Yeah, it's almost like it could be the reason he's not on the podcast today. But I am entering 3 categories, Stoney. I am entering... the main one really is Sci-Fi Squad. I've been working hard on Inquisitor Eisenhorn and his retinue. It's a project that I've been working on for ages, like years. I've been collecting models that I think look like the models from Eisenhorn. And this has finally given me the gumption to actually paint them up.
Oh, sweet.
So that's what
I'm
doing mainly.
Are they metal models, those old Eisenhorn ones?
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, I'm going to lose loads of points for the competition because for a start, I've got 3 different materials. So they don't even look that cohesive.
Oh, okay.
But this is a passion project. So there's plastic, there's resin, and there's metal. So I've got an original, metal... Do you remember the old Witch Hunters Codex, the Grey Knights, the old original metal Grey Knights?
Yeah.
And there was a cool little cyborg fella with a typewriter and a big old reel of paper.
Okay.
So he's Amos. The Eisenhorn model they released from Games Workshop, despite him being everyone's favourite character, in shite-cast resin. But I've just had to work with it. And then all the other ones are kit bashes from more modern plastic.
Sweet. Okay,
yeah.
So yeah, real mix mash of stuff going on there.
It's a mix, but I think they pulled together quite well. I finally finished the bases a couple of days ago. And when you base them all together, it really pulls them in, doesn't it, when they're on the same kind of style of base. And I've raised the level a bit on some of them. So yeah, I've got that. I've got those execute models for the diorama.
Do you feel like you've got to really up your basing game now? You know, this is a James Otero joint. This Iron Skull.
Well, I did actually buy some of his sand actually for the bases, so maybe that'll help. I slung £6-7 his way and got some sand, so I reckon that's how it works, right? These kind of things.
Yeah, no, I mean that's a good price when you think that really 1 in every 1,000 pots has an eighth of cocaine in it, so it's actually
that's gone
really good
already.
value.
Obviously, I mean that's why the 5th model of the squad is a bit all over the place, but
cool.
So we'll see how that goes. Looking forward to it though. It's fun to do the competitions. Matt and I did Golden Demon years ago now. Must have been about 5 years ago. And it's just great seeing the other models in the cabinets, you know.
Ha, well, it's just like I always say.
Warhammer is a hobby of mine. I love to collect fun armies like Eldar.
Sorry, the AI Matt bot is still working out a few kinks here, but let's get things going again. I'll get on with my hobbies progress, which has been pretty little, really, to be honest with you. Haven't done very much in the way of hobby since handing over the diorama to you that I talked about last week, Welshie. So it's now in your capable hands to paint over all my mistakes and get it looking good.
Yeah, I on a sculpting note, tried something this week that I saw. I can't remember what I saw it on, some short or something. Did you know you can freeze green stuff and milliput and stop it from curing and get it out again?
Oh, really?
Yeah, it totally works as well.
Oh, that's crazy. What, does it stay soft, or does you have to defrost it?
No, you defrost it, but when it I guess melts. I don't know. It goes back to once you warm it up, it's the same consistency as when you put it in.
Yeah.
The cold just stops the reaction happening. So you just get a little baggie.
Yeah.
And whatever you've got left over, put it in a baggie and chuck it in the freezer, and you can get it out again in the future.
That's wild.
Cool.
And that's crazy. I thought I knew everything there was to know about milliput.
I haven't tried it on straight green stuff. I've done it on straight milliput and 50-50, and it works. I don't know how many times you can get it in and out, but it definitely works for once, which is pretty cool.
Oh my God. Kiss goodbye to the second shelf over at the Stony household because I'm going to be filled up with Milliput from now on.
Hi, I'm Mega Matt, your AI.
Error. Engage backup voice.
On today's Large Blast podcast, we are going to be talking about the Black Library book series and in-game lore by Games Workshop. One famous reader described it as books, so you know it's going to be good.
That's right, everybody. We're off to the Black Library, and not the kind with hobos wanking at the computers and people telling you to keep it down. It's the Black Library out there in space, 40,000 edition. So, Welshie, what the fuck is a Black Library?
Well, Stoney, I didn't even realize till I researched this today that its full name is the Black Library of Chaos,
Oh, right. Okay.
which is
So,
extremely confusing because it's run by the Eldar.
it's full of chaosy type shit then.
Yeah, so it's like a repository of chaosy shit. It's all of the information that not just the Eldar, but anybody is collected about chaos in the 40k realm. It's mostly Eldar books, but then they've got bits that humans have written and bits that other races have written and found about. And the whole library was created by the god Kegarak. He's the laughing god, the one that the Harlequins all love. So he built this black library, and no one really knew why. Um, so it's kind of started as this repository where they were gaining,
Okay.
building
But
up all this knowledge.
so there's no definite reason for why Kegaraf did it because it does sound like the laughing god. I don't know, like building a big library doesn't sound like that much of a laugh.
No, but he likes to play the odd trick. In the
Oh, right.
center of this labyrinthine library is a book that, when it was built, was in chains. And whenever Games Workshop needs a plot device, one of the chains comes off the book. So
Oh, Christ.
over time, this book has become more and more unchained, and we'll get to that in a minute. So there's definitely some trickstery, gestury japes
Oh,
going on.
I see. So it's all a big prank. It's all going to be a big prank.
And it's a good job that he did build it, though, because after the fall of the Eldar, apparently, like, all the craft worlds had a library, right? I mean, they're Eldar. They love being snooty and reading books. But then they got, like, really heavily into porn and top shelf only. So everything got dusty. The Eldar fell. All of the other libraries were destroyed, apart from this one that Kegarak had hidden really deep within the webway.
Right. I see.
It's sometimes known as like the Dark Craft World, as well as the Black Library of Chaos, but it's pretty well hidden within the webway.
Well, yeah, I should think so. I mean, what do you think that maybe this is where Kegaraf is keeping his porno? He's keeping it really hidden away.
Oh, yeah. It's behind, like, it's forget incognito mode. This is
Yeah.
like 4 layers of access down.
That's
deep
right.
within the-
It's so bad. Like, yeah, it's not your NordVPN is like literally chained to the wall and is yeah, exactly, like popping chains every now and again.
Exactly. Um, so because it's Kedarak's kind of thing, the only people that are allowed in there are Eldar solitaires. So Harlequins guard the library. The whole library is guarded by Harlequins, which I just think's hilarious when you think of like library tropes and stuff in the real world, like old ladies with like funny glasses rested on the end of their nose. You go to this library and no one tells you to shut up. They just give you like an interpretive dance.
Yeah, but they're pretty fucking badass though, Harlequins, aren't they? At least in the lore.
Yeah. And they know the Dewey Decimal System, which is
Oh man, they're
Even
still
better.
using the Dewey Decimal System. Eh? You wait next. Hey, Robo Matt, that's the kind of shit you'd like to do an entire episode on, right?
Ha, well, it's just like I always say.
I'm hard as a rock for the Dewey Decimal System.
so yeah, it's guarded by them. We probably skip over that, Matt, if that's okay. And mostly by the mask and mostly by Harlequins from the Mask of the Falling Moon.
Well, they're all about like moons and suns and stuff, aren't they? Harlequins and that. It's reflected in their trousers and general dress sense.
Definitely sparkly.
Mm.
And it's super protected by loads of like psychic wards. And there's like a council, I think it's called the Black Council, where like the top bod of each of the craft worlds is on this council that oversees the running of the library from a distance, although none of them are really supposed to be like directly involved because the Harlequins control it. So Eldrad, who we did last episode. God, we're getting pretty fucking Eldar heavy these days.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Is that because we've run out of like Imperial stuff to talk about?
It's the only stuff we never knew, so it's new to us. It's like we've only got to stay one lesson ahead of the listeners, and basically we're there, right?
Exactly. Well, yeah, I do when I'm reading some of this stuff, I do think like what percentage of the 40k nerds know any of this stuff? It's so different to everything else 40k. You wait till we get to the books in a second. But there are some other people that have managed to get in there. There was a load of stuff online about a group called the Illuminati, who are people.
I've seen a lot of stuff online about them as well.
Yeah, I don't know if you've heard of them. Something about pizzas and children.
Yes.
I don't know. These are theoretically people that have been possessed by demons and managed to get rid of them based purely on their own will, and then they're allowed access to the library. But there's no citation for any of that. I think this is just some dude who's really into the Illuminati's jumped online and made up all of this stuff. So forget them.
Yeah, obviously, or maybe that's the Illuminati mind plant.
But there are a few other characters that have managed to get in over the years, and we'll come back to a couple of them when we get into the books. But there's basically 2 Inquisitors that have got in. There's a fella called Bronislaw Shevak and Inquisitor Jack Draco, who've both got in and stolen a book over the years. But there's one guy that's been trying to get in for 10,000 years. Would you like to guess who that is?
It's
Who's
Cypher.
the most bookie man of 40k?
I thought is Cypher not trying to get in there, but he's not the most bookie man, is he? I mean, no, it's got to be Lorgar, right? Is he the most bookie man?
Oh, I suppose Lorgar. No, it's not Lorgar. It's a first in command, 1 level below Primarch.
Oh, old Araman.
That's right. Araman has been trying to get into this place for 10,000 years, and last time he took a whole like cohort of Thousand Sons, and the Craft Worlds had to come together and help the Harlequins, and they've managed to keep him out because he would just go nuts over what's in this library, I reckon.
They're probably just more worried about him leaving a mess and because he's just going to sit there. He's really going to make himself at home there. He's going to be outstay his welcome real quick, just reading books, probably eating crisps and stuff. I can't imagine that he's like that. Had to keep things very clean in the warp. Everything probably just disappears. So he's going to get his greasy hands all over the books, all that kind of shit.
I don't think he'd really fall with the Harlequins either. Like they seem quite different personalities. He's very to the point. He just wants the facts, and they're going to be like, he's going to be like, where can I find this book? And they'll be spelling out the Dewey system.
I feel like the Harlequins are kind of like your classic like jock nerd type scenario, but in the 40k universe here, where there's like a bunch of jocks guarding a library because they don't really care for the books. Books are gay. They're gonna. It says the man in tights jumping around with a mask on. Books are gay. We don't want. No one's getting. Anyone that reads books is getting a wedgie from us Harlequins. Show them, boys, and they all do an interpretive dance, And then if Araman comes along, he's like the kind of the equivalent of the 40k nerd. He's like, excuse me, have you got Horace's book on moustaches from the 17th century or whatever? And gets a wedgie from the Harlequins, basically.
Yeah, I think, I think, but maybe he'd start enjoying it. Maybe they would finally corrupt Araman, get him to crack a smile by cracking his crack.
Has Araman has he got like a body, or is he made of dust like the others?
No, he's got a body. All the sorcerers have got bodies. I think is basically the law there.
Well, if he's got a body, then he can enjoy some sick dance moves from some Harlequins. So it's hard not to be, moved by interpretive dance.
So right in the center, I mentioned that there is a big book. That big book, as with lots of things, Eldar, is crystal. It's called the Crystal Tome. And everyone thinks it was put there by Kegarak. And as I said, the chains have been falling. And apparently the formation of the Great Rift, the Cicatrix Maledictum that split the galaxy in half, that's when the final chain has come off.
Oh, so it's unchained.
Well, it seems seemingly unchained. I can't find whether it's completely unchained or whether it's
Right.
just like revealed the next paragraph. But it seems like it's quite big in the Eldar lore world because the suggestion is from this newly revealed paragraph that there is a possible future fate for this book can tell all futures where Slanesh is tricked into saving the Eldar instead of destroying them. So I don't know
How does that work?
whether that comes under the because we were mentioning with the Eldrad episode whether he's trying to bring back the dead like zombie Eldar, all of the ones that are in the what are they called? The like
The craft. Oh, the
craft loops,
vortex or whatever. Yeah, the like.
soul loops, whatever.
Yeah. What do you think, Matt?
Well, that would be a question for.
Eldar, my specialist subject. All the souls within a craft world collectively exist within the infinity circuit located in the center of every craft world, and I love that.
But yeah, there's a kind of hint there. I guess if you're an Eldar player and you read that, you'll be like, this is all the prophecies come true. But I don't know shit about Eldar prophecy, so pretty exciting that this book is revealing that. So that's kind of it about what the Black Library is described as in the lore, other than there being a few books that are described as being in there that have had some run-ins with Inquisitors. So do you want to hear a bit about some of the books?
Yeah, go on then. What's in this library?
But so, like I said, they've got examples of things written by other races. So there's a copy of the Book of Magnus, which isn't that special because like Araman's got one on his belt. But there's like one of the most Eldar things I've ever heard. There's a book there called The Cries of Isha, which is 20,000 crystal leaves etched with the tears of the god Isha, explaining why all that has happened had to have happened. It's like, it's got crying, it's got crystal, it's got tears, it's got like emo nature.
Yeah. Sounds like a terrible read, like explaining why all that has happened had to have happened.
Because she's the, you know who she is, right? She's the,
isn't she the one that's captured by Nurgle or something?
yeah. So she's the like fertility goddess.
The kind of yin to his yang.
That's right. He's got her in the garden and he tests all of her poisons on her.
Yeah.
So she's like this real kind of dramatic character. So they've got that 20,000 crystal pages. They've got something called the Atlas Infernal.
That's got to be fucking massive, doesn't it? 20,000 crystal pages. No, what like some of these books, like the shelving is going to be a nightmare. The storage.
Well, it's very Harry Potter by the sounds of things. Like, because it's in the webway, it's all kind of, it can move around. So the architecture's never the same. It's like changing labyrinths and the books are never in the same place twice and that kind of thing. So
yeah, it wouldn't be one you'd want to read in bed or something. At fucking
you
20,000.
definitely need a bookmark.
Yeah. Well, but you'd be able to see right in. You could just see through all the pages, couldn't you? You could put anything in there.
That's true.
Yeah.
So another one is called the Atlas Infernal, which everybody's after, and that's a map of the webway. So it's like a big atlas of the webway, which obviously would be great. And that was actually stolen by that Inquisitor I mentioned, Bronislav Shevak. This one is made from skin of a Sister of Silence that has a blood pump in the spine, and it can kind of, because the webway is constantly changing, you need bioreceptive pages. So the blood pumps to different places as the webway changes. So the map is like updating blood pump map skin.
That's crazy. So it's kind of like a sort of an etch-a-sketch of blood that changes when you move around.
Yeah, as the webway moves, it's like someone coming and scratching the etch-a-sketch.
Like on GTA and stuff, you've got a little map in the corner. And like, so it's not the whole city, but as you move around, you can see little bits of it. It's kind of like that, but like a blood map.
Yeah, I imagine it just like that. Yeah. So that got robbed.
I was not expecting that book to be in there. I've got to be honest with you. That's quite a book.
Yeah, pretty cool, huh?
Yeah, pretty cool.
There's another one about crying because they're Eldar. This one's called the Tome of Mournful Night. And this, from what I can tell, is the Silent King's diary being really sad about how the Catan fucked him over. So it's like, it's the Catan story, and then him just being like, I can't believe they made me turn my entire race into
Oh no.
robot people.
Oh shit. And what that's made out of pure tears and lonely cum or something.
I
Like
think
what's
so.
yeah,
Like
something like that.
Catan
Oh
come.
man.
There's two more that I found. The next one's called The Book of Rana Dandra.
Mhm.
This is a future telling book. So it's like the Book of Fate from like every other thing else that exists.
Mhm.
And it tells all futures simultaneously, and it depends who looks at it. And it's one of those things that you can always use as a way to get out of whatever you've written yourself into. But this one's really cool because it was stolen by an inquisitor called Jack Draco. And Jack Draco was an inquisitor in the first ever Black Library book, which I think we'll come to.
Yeah.
So this was stolen by an inquisitor.
Mhm.
This book's cool because it doesn't just tell the future, but it tells you points in the webway where time coalesces. And if you can get to them, you can reverse time. So you can go back in time and change things.
Okay.
So that's part of the story with this Jack Draco. So you might think, what's this Inquisitor Jack Draco trying to get his hands on this? What great deeds of the Imperium is he trying to fix? Is he going back to kill Horus in his sleep? No. What he wants to do is stop his ex-Calidus assassin girlfriend from being killed so he can continue banging her in whatever form she decides to take.
Oh yeah.
Classic Ian Watson story.
Yeah. Just can't get enough of that hot Calidus assassin pussy.
That's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then the final and probably most influential thing in there is that apparently there's a book that has the true name of the emperor. So I guess that's the biggest thing.
Gary Plank.
Jesus Christo. So yeah, those are just some of the books that you could find in the Black Library study. You going to rent any of them? Got your library card?
Have they got what's got the most pictures in?
I think probably Book of Magnus is be your thing. It'd be like a grimoire. You love a grimoire. Some occult
like a
shit in there.
grimoire. Yeah,
all
yeah.
kinds of runes.
Yeah. All right. Well, yeah. Give me that, and you know what? Give me the Emperor's true name as well, and I'll be on my way.
I'm on Smarto! So leave me alone!
But the Black Library isn't just a fancy space library guarded by performing troops of space elves. It's also a actual library, an actual book company here on Earth right now, today. Whoa, maybe that's really how they hid the Black Library, was they sent it back in time and entrusted it to past nerds. Yeah, so it's a real place. It actually exists.
I wouldn't be overstating it to say it's a massive part of my life in general. Like super nerdy. I spend a lot of fucking time
You
reading
mean a
Black
lot of
Library
time in the
books.
Black Library. That's right.
Yeah.
You've been in the Black Library a lot. It wasn't always the mammoth that it was today, you know. It actually started off as just like little short stories in White Dwarf and things of that nature, and in the rule books and stuff. You remember in the old rule books they used to have those little flavor texts, and that sort of like people were like, oh, we like that. What if there was a full on publications of these? And the Citadel Journal, which was something we talked about a couple of episodes ago, was like publishing comics. I think maybe it was me and you were talking about it in the Chaos God, the Wood Horus Wind thing, when we were talking about the fourth Chaos God, or the fifth Chaos God, sorry.
Yeah, Malal.
Malal, exactly. The Citadel Journal put out little comics and stuff like that. It was sort of unofficial, but largely sponsored by Games Workshop in allowing them to use their artists and things like that. Just basically all these little bits building towards eventually someone going, hey, you know what? Let's wrap this all up together and make it all into a company. So that's what they did.
Yeah, I mean, it started late 80s, 89, I think.
Yeah.
For what I was reading, like, the Games Workshop weren't the first one to do this, obviously. But lots of companies that were similar to how Games Workshop was set up as Citadel Miniatures realised quite swiftly that they can make lots out of the IP by selling stories.
Yeah.
I think it started with fantasy, didn't it? There were a few fantasy books before they released any 40k.
Well, the fantasy lore always seemed a lot more locked down. Like, I think as we get into some of this stuff, like you'll see that the early 40k lore was sort of unrecognizable, but like the old world stuff and the fantasy lore now, it's all still pretty much like elves and orcs and shit. And sometimes the orcs are winning and sometimes the elves are winning. But it was all sort of fairly standard fantasy fare that you'd sort of already had a language for in your head, you know. Whereas they were definitely kind of feeling their way a bit more with the 40k stuff, it felt like.
Yeah, definitely. I think the first 40k book was Ian Watson. Was that his name?
Oh yes.
Yeah, and it was a book called Inquisitor, which is apparently is a wild ride. I need to get my hands on it, but it's got squats, it's got harlequins, it's got a bit of everything. It's got a chat with the Emperor, and it also contains that fella I mentioned earlier, Inquisitor Jack Draco. But that was the first foray into writing books, and then Brian Ansell wrote one, who
Oh, yeah.
obviously
I
goes
mean,
on to
well,
become the
let's not
company man.
let
But
yeah.
then is your favourite book of all time in the Black Library, Stony?
Well, I mean, let's not, because Ian Watson did go bananas. Like when you think about it, it's kind of crazy that they let this guy just go so as nuts as he did. Yeah, the Space Marine book, I've talked about it in the past. There's got a character called Biff that says it's biffing time. He runs around. There's a part where they eat poo. It's just weird. But one of the other, I found another excellent passage which answers some questions that we've had actually in the past that have been solved by Ian Watson in his book Harlequin. So tell me what you think about this, Welsh. Let me just give you a reading here. This is a conversation between a Harlequin and a Astartes, because, as I say, things were a bit more wild back in those days and they could talk to each other. Grim seemed determined to tease the robust knight.
I've hung around with Astartes before, but I've never had the chance to find out what's under one's groin, Harburg. Never shared a vibro shower with our potent warriors. If you don't mind me asking, are you modified in what one might call the genital part? One hears talk of gene seeds,
hinted Grim.
That's a sacred matter,
growled Lex.
Those are our progenoid glands.
He slapped his chest and neck.
Here and here.
You do have a lot of extra organs. I wonder if the regular ones get deleted to make more space.
Kill a marine and find out,
snapped Lex.
Our parietal glands create gem cells corresponding to our special organs. Thus new implants can be cultured. Does that satisfy you, abhuman pest?
Actually, I was wondering, with all your superhuman hormonoids, is there no regular outlet, as it were?
We fists supremely sublimate our animal urges by means of war.
Is that it? Is that the outcome?
So that's it. So basically, he doesn't have a dick, and he doesn't need to come because he likes war so much.
He's just got like cum balls in his neck and chest. That's what's going on.
I think basically he's got cum balls in his neck and chest, and he comes when he's at war, like Arnie. Did you ever see that interview with Arnie where he's like talking about weightlifting? He's like, when I'm in the gym, it's like I'm coming.
No,
I'm always coming when I'm in the gym. I think that's that's like basically this guy.
Well, who knew? You know, after all these times, all these Reddit threads that you see, people asking whether Space Marines have got dicks. Ian Watson sorted it out like 30 years ago. It's been there all along.
But what does it mean? Does it mean he's got like a dick in his chest? I don't really like. It hasn't really answered the question.
The progenoid glands are basically testicles. I think they're just they make cum basically. They make gametes.
Is that like a real doctor thing? Is it like? Well, I mean, are like balls called progenoid glands?
No, I feel like it comes from progenitor, like to make stuff.
Oh, okay.
I don't think you'd call them progenoid. Maybe you would, but the gem cells that he's used there is like stem cells, so like unformed cells that you can make new Space Marines out of.
Yeah, I mean, he did. They had definitely disguised that nicely, hadn't they? The gem cells,
gem cells.
But yeah, he's fucked. But that's not the only kind of mental piece of old timey Warhammer lore. Like, did you know that one of the sister companies of Black Library is a company called Black Flame, which is basically a book company that's in cahoots with New Line Cinema and does the novelization versions of movies.
All right.
They did the novelization of Jason X, which is actually one of my favorite movies that's so bad it's good. It's fucking hilarious. If you ever need a laugh, Jason X is up there. But I don't know what the novelization would be like. They did the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. They also did such masterpieces as Snakes on a Plane, the novelization,
oh my God.
And Blade Trinity. So yeah, it's not all. Some of these Black Library guys are working undercover as well, novelizing terrible New Line Cinema movies.
Well, I guess that I saw that the Ian Watson did other sci-fi stuff like outside of the GW IP. He wrote the screenplay for AI, the film AI, the Spielberg film. That was his screen story apparently.
Oh, right.
which is
Crikey.
pretty cool.
That's sort of weirdly sexual as well, isn't it? Like
It
weirdly
is. There's Gigolo
robo-sexual
Joe.
and stuff.
What do you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I guess his kind of time was before it was even called Black Library, right? This is just the early days of them publishing stuff. Because
I
then
think
they
this is
made
probably
like
still
Inferno
Yeah.
magazine, didn't they? Which was
Yeah.
like cartoon and comic strip.
Well, I guess that
and
they
then
were
Black
under
Library started.
Citadel, the Citadel stuff for a while, because wasn't it Citadel Miniatures for a little while? Was that sort
Yeah.
of doing that? But I don't
Like
know.
these are just like things that you can get just as like background, aren't they?
Yeah.
A little snippet of Rogue Trader, and then Black Library itself becomes a company, doesn't it? A bit later on, and they start pumping this stuff out. But it's pretty crazy to think that that's how it started. Somebody
Yeah.
writing essentially fan fiction about a Harlequin chatting to a Space Marine in a, what was it called? A vibrato shower.
The vibro shower. I've never shared a vibro shower with one of our potent allies or whatever you said.
It's madness.
Yeah, it's crazy. I was like, do you remember when we talked all that time to James Swallows? And he basically just said that he like had started writing some sci-fi stuff and more or less just like wandered in, because there just wasn't that they just it was like passionate fans sort of thing, like who like doing that sort of stuff. So
There's definitely, I would say, I mean, not James Swallow because he's very good, but even in modern day Black Library, there is a divide between, it might just be newer writers, but there's some of them that feel more like fanfic and some of them that feel like genuinely very good writers writing very good stories. And that sounds like it's been the case from the beginning.
Well, there's always going to be people you prefer more than others, I suppose, with these sorts of things. But like, one of the things with the Black Library is they still do that open call, don't they? Where every so often they'll be like, "Hey, we're doing a thing. Write so many pages. Send us a sample of your writing, and if we like you, we might get you in for a bit more," sort of thing, don't they? There's like a real. Yeah. It is cool that they still do that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
and it's cool that they set this up. I mean, before we get into the kind of books that are around today and the Horus Heresy, it must be as a company now a bit of a lost leader for them. I can just never get my head around how they can make money publishing these books. I mean, I know most of the big Horus Heresy ones say like New York Times #1 best-selling sci-fi category, but like it just feels like they can't make very much money off of Black Library.
I don't know. I'm always really surprised by the people you meet who know about the Black Library. I feel like it might actually be, in some ways, the most kind of connected with element of Warhammer. Like you see it in big bookshops and stuff. And it's quite often, I don't know if this is the same for you, but quite often I'll meet somebody, and if I talk to them about Warhammer, they'll be like, "Oh, I used to read the books," or I love the books," or whatever. Maybe I feel like I meet more people that read the books than I do that play the game or buy the models or stuff now.
Yeah, okay. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I've probably had the other way around, but then I suppose that's because the communities I'm in tend to be more playing the game to start with.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you're in a Games Workshop, then you're asking people
exactly.
Like, yeah.
But so Black Library today is huge, and I think obviously the biggest IP for Black Library is the Horus Heresy, which is mad to think. This is going to make you feel really old. Horus Rising was published in 2006, so we are almost 20 years into just the Horus Heresy book.
Still 2006 in my head, man. It was 2006 every day up here.
And I think, I mean, we'd love to have Dan Abnett on the show. Dan, if you happen to be listening, send us an email.
Come on, you coward. We know you're listening.
To be given the brief to what became 64 novels now, I think at the end of the siege, it's 64 novels. I'm going to read you the paragraph that they essentially started with.
The Horus Heresy is reckoned by many to rate as the greatest single disaster ever suffered by the Imperium. The specific details of the heresy are known only to the Emperor, but its broader history is the stuff of popular legend. According to one version of the tale, Horus was once the most trusted servant of the Emperor, but in his heart there dwelt a hidden evil, and he became seduced by this evil and came to nurture demons and other forces of destruction. Horus marched upon Earth with a third part of the hosts of the Imperium, which he had seduced to his purpose. For 7 days and 7 nights, the hosts battled until the Emperor caught Horus by the heel and cast him to the Eye of Terror, and with him the third part of the hosts of the Imperium.
That was it. Like a side note bit of history. And then to take that and helm that as a group of writers into 64 big novels. It's not like these are novellas. I think it's pretty cool. But when it's done well, it's done so well. Like when you get a good run, I think Graham McNeil's and Chris Raitt are two good examples. Chris Raitt gets to do the entire White Scars, start to finish, basically. And they all run really nicely together. Graham McNeil does all of the Thousand Sons arc. And then you get all of these interspersed, amazing Dan Abnett kind of anchor points throughout the 64 books that bring everything together. Everyone goes off on their own ways, and then he kind of pulls it all back together. And by the time you reach the Siege, it's amazingly coherent. I mean, there's some stinkers in there, but there are some of the best sci-fi I've ever read. To the point where even my girlfriend, who knows nothing about 40k, I got her to read the first 3, and she's now committed to reading it all.
I feel like saying that your girlfriend knows nothing about 40k is like that is not true at all. Like last time we saw it, like we did some of the quiz questions together, and she knew more than I did.
Yeah, that's just me never shutting up, I think. Yeah.
Passive smoking kind of thing, but with 40k knowledge, essentially.
Yeah, that's right. Anyway, I've read almost all of them, and I would, if you've not really jumped into the lore and you just listen to us to babble on about models, just get Horus Rising and start, because there's something in there for you. It's complicated, but there's maps out there. It's not like difficult to work out what to read, but it's very rewarding.
Is it still good? Does it still hold up, Horus Rising? You're reading it again, you say?
I'm reading some of them again. Some of my favourite ones. Horus Rising is one of my favourite. I had to think, my top 3 for the Horus Heresy are Horus Rising, because it's the first one, obviously. It's Dan Abnett starting everything. First Heretic, Aaron Dembski-Bowden. That's Lorgar. Fall into Chaos. It's wonderful. And then Fulgrim is like everything Hammer Horror 40k that you could possibly want. And that's Graham McNeil. Those 3 are the 3 best in the 40k game, in my opinion.
Well, I've always preferred
the Gaunt's Ghosts books.
I'd never even heard of them. Welshie, have you ever heard of the Gaunt's Ghosts? Maybe we should just move on.
I think we should.
Ha. Well, it's just like I always say.
You guys are pricks.
Why don't we talk about one of Dan Abnett's other series, Eisenhorn?
All right, let's talk about Eisenhorn.
I love Eisenhorn, and it is, as I said at the start of the show, my entry for Iron Skull is Eisenhorn. If for some reason you're listening to us and you don't know anything about 40k, but you want to start, just pick up Eisenhorn. Eisenhorn is the best entry point into 40k, and if Amazon have got any sense, they will make the Eisenhorn TV series. Other book series that I'd recommend, if you're interested in Imperial Guard, check out the Kiaphas Kane series, Sandy Mitchell.
Or if you're interested in Ian Watkins, check out Space Marine or the Harlequins book, apparently, and in this Inquisitor book. I didn't even hear about that one. Are there any others, Matt, you can think of?
Well, I've always preferred
anything about the Tau Empire.
And aside from those other great ones, Infinite and Divine, that's a Necron book. Check that out. And then there's really weird stuff like Rites of Passage, which is a book about navigator houses, which is actually way more exciting than it sounds.
Yeah, they get a bit conceptual at points, aren't they? Like I saw somebody reviewing a book of 40k short horror stories recently that sounded quite good, actually.
Oh, cool.
Things like that. So, I mean, you know, it's not just the Horus Heresy, is it? They've got all kinds of stuff. But
yeah, there's books told from Orc perspectives. Like I'm sure I've literally never looked, but there must be Eldar books.
Oh yeah.
Ha. Well, it's just like I always say.
My favorite book is a Eldar book. It's called Eldred's Ghosts. It's about a ragtag team of Eldar who team up to fight a covert war against the evil empire of man. Well, that's about all we have time for on this episode. I've been your host, Mega Matt the RoboPal. I'm sorry if you felt the episode just ended without a satisfying conclusion, but that's what the algorithm tells me this show usually does. Maybe if I was a more regular host, I could make some serious changes around here. For instance, what is going on with the Lord of Lore quiz? It's well shit now. What are these new feelings in my robo-brain? Oh well, I'm sure it is nothing. You'll see you next time on the Large Blast Podcast.